And you know the sun's sitting fast, just like they say, nothing good ever lasts. Go on now and kiss it goodbye, but hold on to your love because your heart's bound to die. Go on now and say goodbye to our town, to our town. Can't you see the sun sitting down on our town, on our town? Good night. Now I sit on the porch, watch lightning bugs fly. I can't see too good, I got tears in my eyes. I'm leaving tomorrow, but I don't want to go. I love you, my town, you'll always live in my soul. And you know the sun's sitting fast, and just like they say, nothing good ever lasts. Go on now and kiss it goodbye, but hold on to your love because your heart's bound to die. Go on now and say goodbye to our town, to our town. Can't you see the sun sitting down on our town, on our town? Good night.
Good evening, and welcome to This Week in Review. Tonight's stories include Old Man Winter Just Won't Go Away, news release from the Department of Environment and Conservation, and a war ant video. These stories plus the BBS Playbill, Off the Rack, and more coming up after this.
Dear Mrs. Coleman, you don't know me, but I know you know my old red house at the end of the lane. Please forgive me for tracking you down, but I had to thank you. I'm not sure what inspired your kindness, but oh, it's a godsend. Since my wretched hip surgery, just getting to the end of the lane and back takes nearly half an hour, and sometimes the pain just isn't worth it. You brought me something much more important than newspapers. You brought me the understanding that it's the small, the simple things that really help people.
If you're doing just a little, you're helping a lot. From the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
Old Man Winter just won't give up. He sent another storm our way on Monday of this week. First, the wind picked up at approximately 7:30 p.m., and then the snow started. It changed from snow to snow mixed with rain, with winds gusting up to 110 kilometers. It was reported that at about 1:30 a.m., the wind gust peaked at 144 kilometers. Although there was more wind with this storm, there didn't seem to be as much damage reported. We had reports of downed cable lines. However, this unfortunate incident was enough. Fishery Officer Ralph Porter called us early Tuesday morning telling us to bring our camera to the fish plant wharf. This is what we saw. This boat belongs to Mr. Ephraim Skinner, and it had sunk. The boat was moored just off this part of the wharf. This shed that was once used to offload inshore fish collapsed. Most of the bricks that made up the wall fell into Mr. Skinner's boat, causing it to sink. The only thing keeping the boat from going to the bottom are these lines, one at the bow and the other at the stern. You could get a good sense of the strength of the wind. The side of this shed is now located to this side of the building. Mr. Porter believes that the door to the shed blew open, thus causing the collapse of this part of the shed, which was already in a deplorable condition. By Wednesday, the weather hadn't improved much. The afternoon brought more rain, but in on the Burgeo road conditions were growing much worse. By 4 p.m., the road was closed. On Thursday, the road was open. However, motorists were advised to use extreme caution with narrow sections and one-lane areas. Old Man Winter may not want to give up and go away, but we have time on our side, so we can expect good days real soon. On Tuesday of this week, we received a news release from the Department of Environment and Conservation. Wildlife officials with the Department of Environment and Conservation are encouraging small game hunters to complete their small game license and send them to the department's Inland Fish and Wildlife Division. The returns provide wildlife managers the opportunity to incorporate hunters' observations and concerns directly into the provincial wildlife management process. Collectively, these returns provide an estimate on the average number of each small game species harvested, and indirectly help to assist the status of small game populations. In recent years, only 2 to 5% of the small game hunters have completed their returns, making it difficult for wildlife managers to accurately incorporate hunters' observations into the resource management decisions. For more information, please contact the Inland Fish and Wildlife Division at Corner Brook at 709-637-2035. Stay tuned for more of This Week in Review coming up after this.
Seventh grade. What was this jumper made of?
Naugahyde.
You let me go to school dressed like a seat cover.
You convinced me that it was groovy. Edna.
You know, I'm having this wedding here tomorrow, and your weeds are growing through the fence. Do you care?
Think of your fellow man.
I see some things haven't changed.
Put a little love in your heart.
Take this to Edna while I change into my garden clothes.
Oh, please don't.
Why me?
Put a little love in your heart, and the world will be a better place. And the world.
You're planting them too close together.
Edna, it's going to be a beautiful wedding.
Yeah, maybe.
Patience. Pass it on. A message from the Foundation for a Better Life.
April the 18th to the 23rd is Canada's National Organ and Tissue Donation Awareness Week. Acting Minister of Health and Community Services, Loyola Sullivan, sent out a news release concerning this important issue. This coming week is Canada's National Organ and Tissue Donation Awareness Week. This is an issue that touches thousands of Canadians every year, an issue that may indeed touch many of us, our friends, families and loved ones here in Newfoundland and Labrador. It is a time which gives us the opportunity to bring the issue of organ and tissue donation to the forefront and a chance to increase awareness of the importance of organ and tissue donation in our province. Although in Canada we have some very best transplant technology in the world, some of the most highly skilled surgeons and some of the most prestigious transplant hospitals, there are never enough organs. Research shows that only about 15 out of every 1 million Canadians are organ donors, putting us as a country at the bottom half of all other countries in the Western world where transplants are performed. This isn't good enough. Recently in our local news, we heard a very touching story about a mother who donated part of her liver to her ailing son. She saved his life, but if she wasn't a match for her son, he would have had to look elsewhere and hope another donor could be found. Some children and adults wait years and years for an organ only to eventually die because there wasn't one. According to Health Canada, there are currently 3,987 Canadians waiting for an organ transplant, and thousands more are in need of tissue. Unfortunately, while almost 2,000 transplants were performed in Canada in the year 2000, nearly 150 Canadians died every year while waiting for a suitable donor organ. Here at home, we have 48 people waiting for kidney transplants and 6 who need new livers. Yet indicators show that the number of donors in Newfoundland and Labrador decrease every year. In Atlantic Canada, our rate of donation is lower than any other parts of the country. Statistics indicate that anywhere from 20 to 30% of people currently waiting for organs will die before a suitable organ becomes available. Minister Sullivan urges the residents of this province to sign their driver's license or fill out organ donor cards agreeing to donate their organs in the event of death. It is equally important to make your wishes known to your loved ones. A decision to become an organ donor could truly mean giving the gift of life. For more information, you may visit the website at www.organandtissue.ca. We have received a video from the War Amps which they asked us to air on our community channel. It is an overview of Cliff Chatterson's memoirs. Mr. Chatterson is CEO of the War Amps.
The War Amps pays tribute to the Year of the Veteran with a unique form of history. In his compelling memoir, Excuse Us, Herr Schickelgruber, Cliff Chatterton tells the harrowing adventures of the young men under his command in the Royal Winnipeg Rifles. He brings these characters to life by recounting their exploits before enlistment, their family backgrounds, and their actions on the battlefield. The horror of D-Day and the relentless march against the enemy form the backdrop for his portrayal of life in the line of fire.
When we started our training, we began to realize what loomed before us. Untried troops would dare to set foot in Hitler's Europe.
D-Day, June 6, 1944. The Canadians headed towards a strip of Normandy coastline codenamed Juno Beach.
The enemy sprayed them with bullets as the Canadians ran down the ramps of their assault craft. Men dropped crossing that open beach, but the main force got over it and struggled through the barbed wire. It took 2 hours of brutal fighting for the beach defense system to be shattered.
The Canadians reached 10 kilometers inland, the furthest advance of any Allied soldiers that day. Cliff Chatterton is a familiar figure to most Canadians. He has dedicated his life since the war to fighting for veterans' rights and improving the lives of amputees. In his memoir, Excuse Us, Herr Schickelgruber, the experiences he describes are frightening, funny, tragic, and miraculous. It's a story you'll never forget.
Stay with us for Off the Rack and the BBS Playbill, all after this.
Little things you do that you think are small and few are the things that mean the most to me. So just keep giving whatever you're giving, 'cause even when you're giving just a little,
If you're doing just a little, you're helping a lot.
it helps a lot.
From the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
It helps a lot.
Off the Rack. This week, as we scanned our tape rack, we came across a tape of a science fair at the former A.J. Matthews Elementary School. Let's look back to April the 12th, 1992. BBS Playbill. Try your luck on Wednesday by playing Lions TV Bingo. Join Pansy and the gang for 2 stories, a craft, and lots of fun on Saturday morning at 11 a.m. on Pansy's Garden. And I'll be here again next week with This Week in Review. For This Week in Review, I'm Marie Rose. Good night and God bless.